Vande Mataram children, I Mr. Basaraj Nipani welcome you all to Sir Kalam Tutorial YouTube education channel. Dear children, as you all know, in my previous video class, we have discussed about one of the important topics of constitutional design, that is Constituent Assembly. In today's video class, let us discuss the last important topic of this lesson, that is guiding values of the Indian Constitution. So dear children, in this class, let us try to understand what are the important guiding values of the Indian Constitution. In this book, we shall study the exact provisions of the Constitution on different subjects. Dear children, in this video class, we are going to study what are the important provisions given in the Indian Constitution on various subjects, on different subjects. And at this stage, let us begin by understanding the overall philosophy of the Indian Constitution. So we shall also learn about what is the overall philosophy of the Indian Constitution, of what our Constitution is all about, and we shall also learn what is our Constitution is all about. We can do this in two ways. We can try to understand what are the important guiding values of the Indian Constitution in two different ways. We can understand it by reading it, the views of some of the major leaders on our Constitution. So in first way, we shall try to understand the important values of the Indian Constitution, and also we shall learn about what is the overall philosophy of Indian Constitution by the statements given by some of the major leaders of our India, some of the people who involved in constitution making, and we shall also get some of the statements given by some of the major leaders of freedom struggle. But it is equally important to read what the Constitution says about its own philosophy, and we shall also try to understand what exactly Constitution says about its overall value, about its overall philosophy. That is also very, very important. This is what the preamble to the Constitution does. So in this regard, we shall also learn about the preamble of Indian Constitution. I hope you all know about preamble. Preamble is nothing but the introductory part of the Constitution, means the introduction of the Constitution. Even that can be also studied in today's class. So now let us study the dream and the promise. What was the important dream and what was the important promise taken by the Indian leaders while making Indian Constitution and while adopting Indian Constitution? Some of you may have noticed a name missing from the sketches of the makers of the Constitution, that is Mahatma Gandhi. So in previous class we have discussed about the members of Constituent Assembly, and we have also got to know who are the makers of Indian Constitution. But there we have missed one of the important names of the leaders of a country, that is the father of our nation, that is Mahatma Gandhi. He was not the member of drafting committee and he was not the member of Constituent Assembly, but some of the guiding values were given by Mahatma Gandhi also. He was not a member of the Constituent Assembly, yet there were many members who followed his vision. But even though many of the members who involved in making of the Constitution, who were the members of Constituent Assembly and the members of drafting committee, were some of the followers of Mahatma Gandhi ji, and they had some ideologies which relates to Mahatma Gandhi's visions. In my previous video class, we were discussing that each and every single leader, each and every single group had different opinions and different interest in adopting the Constitution. And finally, all those different opinions and interests were collected, and the collected informations and the collected values made our Constitution. So in this way, there were many members in Constituent Assembly who were the true followers of Mahatma Gandhi ji. And even Gandhi ji also gave some suggestions and guidance to Indian Constitution. So here, years ago, writing in his magazine Young India, Mahatma Gandhi ji wrote a magazine in the year 1931, that is Young India. In Young India, he gave some statements regarding the Indian Constitution, regarding the future of our country, and he had some visions how a new nation should be built and what kind of constitution should be adopted by a future India. All those such ideas and visions were reflected in his magazine called Young India, which was written in the year 1931. He had spelt out what he wanted the constitution to do. So he gave some statements that what exactly should be done by the constitution of our country, what provisions must be given to the citizens by our constitution, in which way constitution must be adopted, and in which way constitution should guide the government to function and work. That is suggested by Mahatma Gandhiji in one of his magazines, that is Young India, which was written in the year 1931. Now let us move forward. So here there are some statements which are given by Mahatma Gandhiji and some of the other leaders. So I hope you go through your books and you can read all those statements. Let us continue here. This dream of an India that has eliminated inequality was shared by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who played a key role in the making of the constitution, but he had a different understanding of how inequalities could be removed. So as I have already told you, Mahatma Gandhiji gave his statement, which you can read through your book, and there was another leader who was the president of the drafting committee, that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who had totally different views than Mahatma Gandhiji. Each and every single leader had different visions and different ideologies. Here some of the ideologies of Mahatma Gandhiji were not matching to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Some of the ideologies of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar were not matching to Mahatma Gandhiji. They had different opinions, they had different visions about the society, about future India, and about the provisions of the constitution. So even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also played a very important role in the making of the constitution. He had a different understanding how inequalities could be removed. So in his statement, Mahatma Gandhiji said that India should be built on new visions and new aspirations in which there is no inequality, in which all the people are given political equality, social equality, economical equality. But at the same time, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had also some visions about inequalities, how inequalities must be removed from the society. He often bitterly criticized Mahatma Gandhiji and his vision. In his concluding speech to the Constituent Assembly, he stated his anxiety very clearly. So even Mahatma Gandhiji also was speaking about how to remove inequality from society, and even Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also was speaking about how to remove inequalities from the society and how all the citizens must be given equal provisions. But they had different visions. Gandhiji had different visions and Ambedkar had different visions. And finally, we shall also study one of the statements given by the first Prime Minister of a country, that is Jawaharlal Nehru. Finally, let us turn to Jawaharlal Nehru giving his famous speech to the Constituent Assembly at the stroke of midnight on 15th August 1947. On 15th August 1947, when we got independence, the first Prime Minister of a country, that is Jawaharlal Nehru, also gave his statement. Even he had his different visions about the constitution and about the values which must be embedded by Indian constitution. Even that can also be read by you in your textbook. Now let us try to understand what is the main philosophy of Indian constitution. Values that inspired and guided the freedom struggle and were in turn nurtured by it formed the foundation for India's democracy. So when there was a struggle against British people, when all the citizens of a country were trying to get freedom and liberty from British people, they had some different ideologies, they had some different visions, they had different movements and strikes and revolutions. Each and every single leader, each and every single group which was against British, which was involved in freedom struggle, had different ideologies. And each and every single group, each and every single ideology, each and every single leader had their different opinions and interest about the new nation, about the future country, and about the constitution. All such guiding values included in our Indian constitution that helped the makers of the Indian Constitution to write the Constitution in a very proper and in a very smoothful way, and it also became one of the biggest constitution of the world. These values are embedded in the preamble. So all such values are embedded in the preamble. So if you start to read the Constitution, in very first page where we can find the preamble of the Indian Constitution, that clearly shows that what are the important provisions of Indian Constitution and how Indian Constitution is going to provide a better life and provide a better future for the citizens of the country. They guide all articles of the Indian Constitution. So there are many articles in Indian Constitution. Each article has many elements in it. They all tell us how Indian Constitution is written and how it is going to help the citizens of the country. The Constitution begins with a short statement of its basic values, that is called preamble. This is called preamble to the Constitution. Preamble means the introductory part or the introduction, taking inspiration from American model. And here the Constitution of our country has taken some of the guiding values, has taken some of the inspirations from American model of Constitution. Most countries in the contemporary world have chosen to begin their Constitution with a preamble, and many of the democratic countries which have Constitution, all such constitutions have preambles. Preambles means introductory part. In that regard, you can also read the Constitution of South Africa, which also has a preamble. The introductory part, the preamble only shows that what exactly Constitution is having and how it is going to help the citizens and how it is going to guide and suggest the government to function. That is what can be found in the preamble of each and every democratic constitution. Now let us move forward. Let us read the preamble of a constitution very carefully and understand the meaning of each of its keywords. Now let us try to read the preamble of our Indian Constitution. The preamble of the Constitution reads like a poem on democracy. So we can see that it is like a poem of democracy. It contains the philosophy on which entire Constitution has been built. It provides a standard to examine and evaluate any law and action of the government, and also we can find out whether it is good or bad. It is the soul of the Indian Constitution. Preamble is also called the soul of the Indian Constitution. So now let us try to read the preamble of Indian Constitution. We the people of India means all the citizens of a country, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign means a supernation which has a superpower. Socialist means in which there is a social equality. Secular means in which all the religions are treated equally and all the citizens are free to follow any religion. And democratic, republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice. The Constitution is going to provide justice, social justice, economic justice, and political, and it is also going to provide liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, and it also ensures the equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So this is what the preamble of Indian Constitution, which shows the entire philosophy of our Constitution. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt an act and give to ourselves this Constitution. 26th November 1949, we have adopted our Constitution, and 26th November is celebrated as Constitution Day, as I have already briefed in my previous video. So now let us go to last subtopic, that is institutional design. Our Constitution has some institutional designs in it. Let us try to understand here. A Constitution is not merely a statement. It is not just a statement of values and philosophy as we noted above, A constitution is mainly about embodying these values into institutional arrangements. So all these guiding values and all these philosophies are arranged in institutional arrangements. It is not just a document, it is like a holy book, it is a supreme law. Much of the document called Constitution of India is about these arrangements. It is a very long and detailed document. It is one of the longest and detailed book of a country. Therefore, it needs to be amended quite regularly to keep it updated. And there is a provision in our constitution that this constitution book can be amended according to the situations, according to the time. And those who crafted the Indian constitution felt that it has to be in accordance with people's aspirations and changes in society. So the constitution was adopted immediately after the independence, but our makers of Indian constitution had some great visions about future, and they set the constitution, and they also provided some provisions in Indian constitution to change the constitution according to the future generation, according to the aspirations of future generation, and according to the changes of future time. They did not see it as a sacred, static and unalterable law, so they made provisions to incorporate changes from time to time. These changes are called constitutional amendments. So very basically we can understand that there is a provision that we can change the constitution, we can make lot of amendments, we can make lot of corrections in the Indian constitution according to the time, according to the situations, according to the demands of the future generation. That is what we call as amendments. The constitution describes the institutional arrangements in a very legal language. If you read the constitution for the first time, it is very much difficult for us to understand the constitution very easily. But yet the basic institutional design is not very difficult to understand like any constitution. Our constitution is very detailed and it's very big, but it is very easy to understand. And the Indian constitution lays down a procedure for choosing persons. Indian constitution gives some guiding values how to choose persons to govern the country. It also depends who will have the power. It also decides and it also tells us who should have the power in the country, who should run the government, and how should be representatives elected and chosen. And it also tells us who should have much power and who should take important decisions. And it also puts limits to what the government can do by providing some rights to the citizens. And it also sets some guiding values how government should be functioned, in what way the government should work, and what are the important rights must be given to citizens to control the government, and how all these rights are not supposed to be violated by the government, in which people are free to enjoy the rights. The remaining 3 chapters in this book are about these 3 aspects of the working of Indian Constitution. We shall look at some of the key institutional. We shall also look at some key constitutional provisions in each chapter and understand how they work in democratic politics. But this textbook will not cover all the silent features of the Constitution. So in this textbook we cannot understand what are the important silent features of the Constitution. We are going to get just some objectives, some basic ideas of the Constitution. Some other aspects will be covered in your textbook next year. So more about institutional design and what are the important provisions of Constitution can be studied next year in your democratic politics too. So this is all about second lesson, constitutional design. So in my next class we shall discuss about next lesson. Till then, take care, goodbye, and immediately tomorrow I will give question answers of this lesson. You are requested to write down all those question answers in your prayer book. Thank you very much.